country.
A handsome temple.
Especially in the international affairs. For example, what's happening in Ukraine, the Middle East, or Bangladesh? How does global politics work and who pulls the strings? Today, we dig deep into political psychology, exploring how organizations like the CIA play mind games and the shadowy world of so-called deep state that shapes, or dare I say, are trying to control the world. We will have to navigate complex concepts to understand this well, but it is worth it. Any international transaction involves not only current situation, but also future considerations and relevant past events. Let's begin with the relevant past of the concerned individuals, the psychological profiling of people who make decisions in global politics, the international leaders. Institutions like the CIA have dedicated decades to understand the minds of political leaders, particularly their thinking style, motivating factors, insecurities, and behaviors. They have been analyzing their decisions, speeches, and body language. For example, consider a leader with a history of impulsive decisions. Profilers spot this as weakness and leverage point to gain an advantage for them. They create such situations so the leader make decisions that will benefit the US. What you saw last week when Zelensky and Trump met was an example of this. Profiling goes beyond the personality test for a leader. It requires understanding of complex interactions between a leader's characters and pressures they face. In contrast to what happened with Zelensky, consider the recent agreements between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump. The American profilers must have analyzed Prime Minister Modi's thinking process, decision-making, negotiation styles, and strengths to predict potential outcomes before committing to deals that India wanted. Yes, we do see a personal bond between the two leaders, but we should not give too much credit to what we see, because when the US head of state interacts with another leader, significant psychological processing occurs at organizational level, which we don't see. Even the US president has to take into account the information given to him by the CIA about the leader. The success of Prime Minister Modi's recent American visit reflects his strong and impressive psychological profile they have. Just like the way psychological profile works at individual level, the deep state works at organizational level. So let's see what deep states and shallow states are. These terms represent different levels of influence within a nation. The shallow state is what we observe: elected officials, public institutions, and visible face of the government. In contrast, the deep state operates behind the scenes. Consider network of unelected officials, intelligence agencies, powerful corporations, and influential media figures. They often exert their influence subtly to maintain power and protect their interests. In the US, the examples of deep state actors include elements within intelligence community, certain financial institutions, and influential lobbying groups. In India, non-profit organizations are frequently called as deep state actors, possessing significant social and political influence. Similarly, there is a strong belief in the media that recent power shift in Bangladesh could not have occurred without deep state involvement. The deep state institutions gradually increase their influence over society, using political instability and economic power as a tool. You may have heard figures like George Soros or the Hindenburg Report, which are known for causing global financial turbulences. Deep states are not involved in just political matters. They have also influenced sports events. The Football World Cup hosted in Qatar is said to be a recent example. Through sponsorships, They manipulate markets and deals in business. They also influence curricula and funding in education. The deep states aren't limited to US or India. They exist in countries with military and intelligence network like Turkey. Regardless of their specific makeup, these deep states play a significant role in international relations. How does this affect global relations? Consider America's complex relationships with nations like China or Russia, Afghanistan and Pakistan, Israel and Iran. Just like psychological profiling affect the top leaders' decisions, the deep state influences and shape organizational policies behind closed doors. These hidden dynamics often influence trade deals, military alliances, and diplomatic tensions. But what about the ordinary citizens? How does this affect us? The information manipulated by these forces repeatedly impacts our thought processes. Our conscious mind struggles with complex and conflicting narratives, while our subconscious mind absorbs subtle cues and biases without thinking. Consider the spread of misinformation during COVID pandemic and during India's elections. It's not just about factual errors. It's about exploiting our emotional vulnerabilities, playing on our fears and biases. This constant manipulation leads to increased polarization, distrust in institutions, and the feeling of helplessness. We become passive receivers, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information and subtle psychological tactics used by those in deep states. We may feel increased anxiety, a sense of being overwhelmed by events beyond our control. One thing to note is that deep state concept has existed in the world for a long time, but it has recently become more prominent and dangerous. Previously, its use was limited to specific activities like political activities or elections. Now, its influence is felt in every field. Just like social media influences you from all sides to sell products, the deep state works to implant thoughts in your mind in many aspects of lives. A few years ago, Christopher Nolan's movie Inception came out.
Dreams, they feel real while we're in them, right? It's only when we wake up that we realize something was actually strange.
Pay attention to the strangeness of the...
In it, a complex thought processing is used to plant an idea in a character's mind. In this era of deep state, similar things seems to be happening, and finding the truth has become difficult. I would even say that if the power of deep state continues to grow, along with the growing power of artificial intelligence, a day might come when we may not live by our mind, although we will be made feel like that because our strings will be in the hands of someone. To counter this, we must work to sharpen our mind, our thinking. Understanding these complex dynamics is essential for navigating the modern world. We can reclaim control and make informed decisions by becoming more aware of the psychological tools that influence us and the hidden forces shaping our reality. Thank you for joining the Political Mind Games. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed. If you have liked it, share and comment your thoughts as well. Thank you very much.